in 3, 2, 1.
These violent delights have violent ends. Join us as we break down episode 10.
Sorry. Where you at, bro? Where you at? Bring it in.
I'm still trying to break everything down. As you can see, I'm breaking it down in my mind, and you will too with our guest, Louis Herthum, next.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That music can mean one thing. It is the season finale of Westworld Season 1. I am JC Rubio, and I'm not going to waste any time. Let us introduce the panel. There's so much to talk. Start with the lovely lady to my left.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can catch me all over the internet at Joelle Monique and every week at blackgirlnerds.com.
See?
It's happening right here. There's a lot.
It's the end. You can't handle it. You're like, no!
And across the table.
What's up, guys? My name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D. Lane, and you'll find some cool pictures of why I got some fancy makeup. I had a photo shoot earlier.
Ooh, brag. Humble brag.
You know?
Hi, I'm Dave Child. I didn't have a photo shoot earlier, but I'm still here for you.
And you're still lovely.
Thank you, thank you. You can see why I'm so beautiful if you ask my parents. And you can find me at mrdavechild or davechild.com. Ooh, boy. We're at the end of the maze. We're in the maze.
Yes,
We found the center of the maze, guys.
Yeah.
Real quick,
Well,
thank
wait,
you.
have we really found the center of the
There's
maze?
a lot of questions about
Right.
that. But real quick, hey, thanks to everybody in the live chat. You guys are very, very vocal today, which I'm really excited about. So keep hitting us up. We're on here looking, reading, doing things.
Yeah, sorry, we're so excited we're leaving our phones on.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to the chat room. We
Yes.
wanted to hear. Definitely chime in. Let us know what you think. And of course, coming up a little bit later, we've got, that's right, Mr. Peter Abernathy himself, Louis Herthum, joining us on the couch.
Straight out of cold storage.
Yes.
Going onto our couch, and we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
But first, overall impressions on tonight and the season. Did they deliver? I tell you guys, after this, I'm going to go home and watch it again so I can understand. There's so much. I think they, like Dave, we talked before the show,
Right.
how they kind of really walked us through everything and really showed us the ins and outs. Were we satisfied?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It felt after, especially the way they wrap up episode 10, and we'll get into it, but it certainly felt like this was a prequel to what is going to be an entirely new direction for next season. And I cannot wait because they straight went from a Western to tonight you saw changes in music and lighting cues and even a little bit of performance here and there where we're clearly going into a sci-fi direction. And I am so pumped about that. Bring me the murder and the red strobe lights and killing in the dark. Like,
Yeah.
this is so good. Such a good ending. Even with predictable, even though we made a lot of accurate predictions as we've been following you guys along, you guys have made a lot of accurate predictions. I still felt good about the ending.
Oh, yeah, no, there's very few shows where you actually are satisfied to want to go back and watch it. Like, you'll be like, no, I saw everything, I understood what was going on. But this is a show where you're like, no, now I'd want to go back and see how I'd watch it differently, knowing where it's going. And yes, we had many theories, and it was fun to see them get revealed, confirmed or not, because so many people were like, well, come on, it was proved this time, and we're like, well, let's just wait.
Yeah.
And then it was, and you're like, yes! So it has that nice sense of satisfaction of like, oh, good, I wanted to know.
Yeah, it was great to have like a definitive end on stories or mysteries, answers to stuff. I think everyone was kind of afraid the show was going to get very losty in the way that it's like, oh, we won't answer that question. Instead, we'll throw another hatch at you.
Here's a new polar bear.
Ooh, I was like watching this with a friend a couple weeks ago, and they kept saying like, this is like the hatch all over again. I'm like, no, it's not. There's a reason to everything. And and I felt like I was like reading a novel the entire time. It felt where I kind of knew where it was going, but I wanted to see it get there. So I was happy when it got there.
So basically, Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy delivered on what they said. They said, we're going to time pretty much everything up for you and leave you to jump off to season 2. And I think they delivered that in spades from A to Z. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
The only question I still have is, well, 2. Where's Stubbs?
Yes!
Right.
I totally was thinking that the whole time. I'm like, where is
And secondly, and he's coming in here in a second, where is Papa Abernathy?
Right. I mean, because they set that up. They set everything up with like that he was going to get all this information and be sent out into the real world for corporate, but we don't know where he is right now.
Yeah.
Also, what a samurai world. I think that's a big question too.
We had somebody in the chat earlier.
They
say
said Shogun, which would be a
Which I
more
hope so.
encompassing.
Shogun World?
Yeah.
It's S World. Everyone's going to
S-World.
be saying Samurai World tomorrow. It's going to be
It's an
Samurai World.
easier, like, quick one to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I like
yeah.
the idea of Shogun World better
I like
because you have an
Shogun.
actual like world to build on
Yes.
instead of like I don't know samurai school and then some vengeance killings.
Sure,
It looks so good.
but this is the first reveal that there are other worlds outside of it.
Yes.
Also, we have at one point, we'll talk about this more later, but Maeve gets is told where her kid it could be,
Yes.
and in it says like World 1. Or it's
World
like-
1, Section 15.
Sector 17, Zone 3, I believe.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so it definitely lends itself to being more than one.
yeah, it means there's more than one world, which
Yes.
is a little surprising.
Which Xavier
Yeah.
Lee brings up something interesting. He says he saw Donnie Yen's bus behind Ford's desk, which I didn't notice, but I'm definitely going to go back and check it out because I love Donnie Yen, and if he's going to show up, I'm just twice as in for next season.
I like the chat room. They said Eastworld. This was Westworld, so then it'd be Eastworld.
East World.
You know what?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
a perfect segue for our first question for the fans. What would you like to name the next world? If we're going to see an East World and S World. But before we go any further, I believe we have someone coming in.
Oh, hey. I don't think you're going to be actually seen on camera yet until you sit down on that couch.
Yes.
but-
Okay.
Yes.
Let's sit on the couch.
Yeah, have a seat.
thanks
We
for
got some
joining
headsets
us.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, we even have a headset back there for you, which will be right behind you there.
Oh, okay. Top one.
Perfect.
I'll go with this one.
Okay, perfect.
This has all happened live, so definitely get your questions ready. Ladies and gentlemen, okay,
I think you need to move to the center of the couch.
Okay.
Just a hair to
you
your...
get the whole couch, sir.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Yeah.
Lay out, enjoy it. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, this man needs no introduction for any Westworld fan because basically you were the one who started it all for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen him on Breaking Bad, True Blood, Murder, She Wrote. The man has been around for over 30 years. You've seen him in everything, but he's captured our hearts standing toe-to-toe versus Anthony Hopkins. Ladies and gentlemen, AfterBuzz TV, Westworlders, put your hands together for Mr. Louis Herthum.
Yay!
Very excited.
Thanks for
Everyone's
having
saying, there's people saying, welcome, Dad.
Robert F.
me. Hi,
Randy.
kids. Past your bedtime.
That hell is empty. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm just sorry I couldn't get here, sooner, but scheduling,
You're a busy man.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
so much.
No, you don't understand. We've been back and forth trying to get you all seasons, but you've been to Columbia, you've been back and forth, Michigan, and you're just shooting constantly.
This has been a bit of a.
I think we're figuring out.
There it is.
There we go.
Say.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a game changer
There
for
you
me.
are.
Oh, wow, there I
Yeah,
am.
there you
Ah, hello.
Okay, feel like I
Surprised
can whisper now. A little bit. Anyway, yeah, it's been pretty remarkable. It really has.
Well,
And
this brings in a very interesting position for us because right now we're starting the recap. Well, so
Are you?
Yeah.
Just starting?
Just
Yeah,
starting.
we're just
Right at the
starting.
top.
oh, I thought y'all would be like pretty well into it.
No.
There's just so much to go over,
Oh
you
my
know?
God.
And
Yeah.
we're like, game plan, like, oh my gosh, how do we just even tackle this? And then,
And
like,
I,
let's
I'm
just
gonna
start.
take these off, or maybe not.
Do you?
No.
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Well, I mean, I can see y'all better with them, but
Sure.
they're not glaring, are they?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much, admiration for what y'all do because to be able to watch the show once, any of these shows,
Yeah.
and then come in here and because my brain is just after every episode is just completely scrambled, and this one,
Even you, because
even me, yes. Because you've seen the show. I had a pretty prominent part in the pilot, but
Right.
after that, I don't get scripts if I'm not in it, and I don't even get scripts. I think even Shannon mentioned that, or she probably got scripts because she was much more involved early on. But in this day and time, and it's not just this show; it's pretty much every show that I work on. You rarely get scripts anymore. If it's a show that's like really, shrouded in secrecy.
Right.
it's very much a need to know basis.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And with the this time we're living in with the internet and everything, it's just too risky. Somebody can put it out there and then
Yeah,
it's
especially
blown.
this show is like all about the water cooler talk, where it comes to just be like, okay, what do you think the show's about?
Yeah.
What do you
Yes.
Where do you like timelines? Who's a host and who's not a host?
It's really remarkable. I mean, the genius of this show, and Jonah and Lisa, it's just remarkable. I mean, they've created something that in my 34 years in the business, well, 35 come next year, very soon. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a show where people literally want to watch it 3 and 4 times.
Right.
And it's a puzzle. It's such a puzzle.
Yeah.
But
and with that said, we also want to bring up the fact that, well, since we have you here, you're going to be our guest. You're going to break it down with us. So we're going to
okay.
So I think we may have your insight, because I
Right.
mean, you were there for how many years have you been with this production?
2 plus. Yeah, we shot the pilot in August and September of 2014.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. All right. Well,
So
this.
what is it like now to finally see it completed and really get to talk with friends and family about the whole process and everything?
Well, it's kind of hard to put into words, really, other than just adjectives like remarkable, amazing.
Right.
Because as actors, we it's not an easy craft to succeed in, and you struggle and make a living. I've been blessed to make a living for a long time doing it, but it's rare that you get an opportunity like this. And people have been very kind to me and the things that they say about my work and the pilot especially. And the truth is, there's a lot of us that could do that. We just don't get the chance. And so I'm blessed to have had this chance. And then it's one thing to have a chance at something like this, and another to be able to do it opposite one of the finest actors that ever lived,
Right.
Who is one of the sweetest human beings on the planet.
Really?
Oh,
That's so
God.
pleasant to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice.
How
Yeah.
excited were you when you got to all of the Shakespeare, like such great meaty words you got to do?
I'm not a Shakespeare guy. I mean, I've done tons of theater, but I never really got into Shakespeare.
Okay.
And I did Shakespeare in class, some classes, because it was, challenge yourself. And I'm like, well, I've never done Shakespeare, so let me try that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't approach it that way. I didn't approach it from the standpoint of, I'm doing Shakespeare opposite one of the greatest Shakespearean actors.
Right.
I really didn't. I just took the words and how Peter wanted to, convey those words to this man who
Right.
he came to realize was somebody that.
I guess that brings me to my next question, which is like, when you're trying to approach this as a host, as someone who's not actually human, is that why you did it that way? And are there other things that you did to kind of address that?
I think, well, first of all, there were some other bits that didn't make the cut in that that scene, and everyone, I obviously knew who they were. I knew who the quotes were by, and if there were some that I didn't know, which there were, I looked them up and and understood what they were saying. But again, like the very first one, when he says, which is something that we revisit in, I think, episode 9, when you hear me in the background, saying,
Right.
When we are born, we cry, we're come to this great stage of fools. And that's the first line you see me say in the scene with Tony, as he likes to be called. Insists on being called. Such a humble man. I didn't really. I think if I had have tried to have been Shakespearean,
Right.
And so forth, it would have. I just completely forgot about that and just thought about what the words mean.
Yeah.
And then when I do the sort of, I will have such great, such revenges on you, it was just about I'm just saying the words. I'm going to have revenge on you, and
Right.
so I don't know if that answered your
It
question.
totally does. We
Yeah.
felt it, and it was powerful. I was wondering, did you watch the episodes as they came out after that then, or did you get a sneak preview? Was it new for you tonight?
Oh yeah, it was completely new for me. Every episode is new, and
You were behind, weren't you, when you went to Columbia, right?
I was. I episode 8. I did not see till I came back because they don't have, or the hotel was a lovely hotel, but it didn't have HBO, and you can't get HBO Go out of the country.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, and that was the episode where, Peter gets downloaded with all this information. So I was kind of curious, but I was offered a chance to see the pilot. When we came back into production, they invited me to come see the pilot several times, but honestly, I turned them down, and I just said, I think I'll wait. I didn't think it would be so long, first of all.
Right.
And I was hearing, I'll be honest with you, I was hearing such nice things about the pilot and everything that I was scared I'd prove them wrong.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, every actor, it doesn't matter. Every actor can watch their work and go, oh.
Yeah.
I once met F. Murray Abraham years ago in the late 80s. We have a mutual friend. We went to a Raiders football game together. Sweetheart of a guy. And I asked him, I said, what was it like? He had won the Oscar not long before, a couple of years before, for Amadeus. And he said, I don't remember it. I don't remember being there, up there, and accepting.
Right.
I have no recollection of it. And I said, well, what did you think about your work in it? And he went, some of it I think nobody could have done better, and other parts I could barely watch. And this is a man that was absolutely frickin' brilliant. So and when I think about that all the time, because it's true. I mean, even in that scene, I can see a couple of things that I would have done differently.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to walk away. Well,
Yeah. Well, y'all know.
truly.
Yeah.
Couple requests / questions from
Sure.
the chat room. One, what was it like to work with Evan Rachel Wood?
Oh, sublime. She's incredible. She really is. And she's such a sweet gal. And the subtleties in her work, like that scene. Well, one of my favorite scenes in the whole pilot is the scene where I tell her, I am what I am because of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it touched. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she's like my life, and so when I see that scene, it just really just, and I think we had we worked very well together, and then so that she's, I think she's extraordinary. I really do, and I think her talent is, and y'all have seen tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Holy smokes!
Yes.
I mean, what she went through, tonight. I mean, in that episode alone. I mean, poor
Yeah.
darling. I mean, she
Right.
had to go home and slam some shots at the. But yeah, it's just like I say, just it's amazing. Every one of the actors in this show is just incredible.
Right.
Well, let's come
Yeah.
back to more, but let's break down what we're here for.
Yeah.
All of tonight's episode, and first of all with the reveals. Let's start off with William in Black. I'm calling it.
Yes. Okay.
Finally.
The longest told,
Finally.
Totally
Secret.
confirmed. We got
Yeah.
it set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been like I'm curious from your perspective, because we're people that are like in this world of theories and theories being thrown at us and like
Yeah.
talking about it. So like we couldn't avoid not knowing this. Yes, please slowly strip.
Yes, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I'm used to being naked in front of people.
Sure.
Oh my god.
I mean, that was most of, yeah. So, like, for you and this William Man in Black reveal, at what point did you guess it? Did you ever guess it, or what?
Well, I mean, there was a scene that was shot that was not used, that I was in.
Can we talk about that?
I mean, it's in the pilot, right? So it's
no,
probably...
no, it was not
But
in
it
the
wasn't
pilot.
aired. He said it didn't air.
It didn't
Did
air.
it get cut?
It got cut, and
Why'd you ask that question? Just let him say it.
I'm sorry.
Just let.
well, I don't know that. I mean, but let me just say this: it would have answered a timeline question, I think.
Okay.
And now that I've seen it all, it really wasn't necessary.
Right.
And I get that.
Yeah.
Is
you
it
know,
you interacting with either William or the Man in Black? I guess.
It was interacting with Rachel.
Okay.
But in a different timeline.
So you kind of knew because of that scene.
I knew that. Well, I didn't know when I was shooting it. I knew that it was a different. Well, put it this way.
He's doing the dance.
We see Peter. We get flashes of Peter as a professor, right? In 3, you see that little shot of me taking the hat off, and then in 9, you hear him and see him fuzzy in the background. There was another character, okay, that was from Peter's past.
Right.
So it would have maybe it probably would have just confused people a little bit
Right.
more.
Okay.
And again, I get why they didn't do it. So I would get little clues, like when I first saw Rachel, or Evan on the show dressed a certain way. I went, oh, that's okay, But it didn't give me the William thing. It just gave me some timeline issues,
Right.
Matching up some wardrobe and stuff like that. But the knife, the first time, the knife was a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
The shirt was a giveaway, but not. That wasn't definitive. I really think for me, the knife. When I saw the knife, that's when I knew for sure.
I feel like a lot of viewers felt the same way last episode. We were like, I see these handles. I know exactly what's going on.
And also all the old school hosts that we see during that point too.
Yes.
It kind of helps.
And actually, another giveaway is the pullover you brought in. You're wearing right now. It has the old Westworld
I know.
logo on
The
it.
logo.
Yeah.
Do you know that I only realized that not too long ago that it is the old logo,
The old one.
as opposed to the new one. But they gave us they give great gifts, and there's a black sort of hoodie, well, like a coat, raincoat, and it has the new logo.
Oh, the new logo.
I'm pretty sure it's the new one, that one.
Okay.
Right.
And how cool is it that logo is so easy to make with the typing, with the W and the 2 slashes?
Yeah,
It's
that
pretty
must
dope.
be one of the reasons why they
I know.
decided on it. That was probably the first logo that they did. Was like, oh, we can't use that, but we can also still use it as a hint.
Yeah.
All right, now I wanted to open it up to y'all. So we, like you said, we live and breathe this stuff for 2 months.
Yes.
And we felt it coming, and a lot of people on the street did it. Were we happy how it was handled?
I was going to say, sorry to jump in there, but we had this exact, and I think you brought this point up. I talked to a friend just the other day. I'm like, so the Man in Black and William, same guy. And they were like, what?
What?
They weren't blown away by
I
it.
see people's eyes go like,
I watched it with my roommate
Yeah,
today,
he's
and
just
she was
like-
like, this is a crazy reveal. I'm like, we've been talking about this for weeks.
Yeah.
And I know I was holding out, and a couple of us were like, well, maybe not.
yeah.
Because I wanted it more 100%, because the show has kind of been like, maybe not. But yeah, totally 100% had the same friend reaction, like, wait, what? That,
I
we're
almost-
like, yes, we've been talking about it.
I almost thought it was so clear that they were going to show us something else.
Yeah,
at
me
this
too.
point.
Oh,
we
yeah.
were going down that road.
And then
so
they're
much.
like, ha!
And then
Yeah,
it was like
exactly.
One thing about this episode was I realized, oh, they're gonna draw this out. They're gonna draw this out in this episode, which at first I was kind of annoyed by,
Me
but then
too.
as it went on, I was like, okay,
Yes.
it's not so bad, because I think they're walking everyone through exactly what's
Yep.
happening, and for such a confusing show, to have the finale be like, this is how the timelines work out.
like
This
even
is how
the
everything
hat.
works
And I think
out.
we do get some
Yeah.
resolved issues where I think a lot of times when you already know what's about to happen, they just reveal that and you're like, well, that was boring. But here we get a lot of his emotional reasoning
Yes.
behind his decision making, and it really fills in that character of William to Man in Black
Yes.
really well. So it worked for me overall.
Oh yeah.
It was the journey, how they handled it. It handled with such care. It was so fleshed out. I mean, very easily we could have said, "Oh, this is how it happened," but they took their time. It was in between a showdown between Dolores and Man in Black. How kick-ass was that scene to see a woman kick some ass?
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
just wish
so
she had gone through all the way. I was kind of disappointed when Teddy showed up. I was like, no, I wanted
wanted her
Dolores
to-
to take care of it
Yeah,
herself.
I wanted her to roll over and then shoot him. I'm like, she can still shoot him from the ground.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You know, she knifed her, but just.
Yeah.
But I just read an article where Ed said he was coming back next season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think it's important. I
he
think
gets
it's
shot in
important
the
for him to
arm.
come back.
yeah, he
That's
does. He does get shot.
She can shoot him later.
That's right.
Yeah.
You did say next year, right? So
I'm sorry?
you said next year. Ed's coming back next year. Are we talking 2017, 2018?
Oh,
I know,
God,
I know we said it was 2018, but
I have no clue. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not. You know, I'm really not privy to much more than you guys are.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, other than what I know is transpiring in the show, which leads me to believe certain things.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
But I did read an article that Ed, and y'all apparently read it too, that he said he would be back
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, I thought for sure he was gonna kick it this episode, and so I was surprised when he didn't. And I kind of felt like for some reason I kind of knew it was gonna be either him or Anthony Hopkins, because I felt like
Yeah.
you can't
Bring 'em both.
have both of
Yeah.
them for like 2 seasons. And so I was wondering, but I thought for sure it was gonna be Ed, and then I'm glad he isn't, because I'm fascinated by his story, and now that we know it's William,
Yeah.
I want to live with that a bit longer.
Sure.
Like
Yes.
I was hoping for this reveal sooner, so we can exist in that, because it's great to see like this relationship that started off with someone basically saving a princess, and then not breaking from that and turning into such a terrible person for that princess, and just
Yes.
and seeing her kind of become a person that's not someone who needs to be saved.
Yeah.
And also doesn't need to be put on a pedestal.
I mean, let's talk about great acting moments. That moment when he realized he can now be hurt in the game, which is the thing he's been talking about since day one of like,
Right.
I'm bored here, I can't be harmed.
It's the one thing he's been waiting for.
Yeah, and he finally gets winged, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, game on! Like, I'm ready! And I was like, yes! I want to see him play this game. Like, I want to
Yes.
see... Like, he's been so badass and ruthless, but he's right. Everybody's been kind of neutered. So now that people
Well,
are
it's
fighting back,
it's what he's been wanting.
Yes.
It's like them
Right.
to fight back and to
Exactly.
be able to harm the humans. I
Yeah.
mean, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And get
yeah.
that kind of Viking. I think he's still going for that Viking death. I think he kind of
totally.
Yes.
wants that, like, to
Run
die
into
in
battle,
battle.
fight.
sort of a
Fight.
running,
Yep.
I wonder if
theme,
this
isn't
takes
it?
him, I wonder if this will take him back to being a white hat, though. If now that people can remember and there are actual consequences, because we know he lives as like this kind of puritanical guy outside of this world. He's like diligent in his work. He helps cancer patients, like all this other
right,
stuff.
uh-huh.
It'd be interesting to me that now that there are actual consequences, if he gets back to his white hat status, or if he
Right.
continues to stay on this track.
Oh, good point.
that's
I don't-
great.
Good question.
I
What do you
also-
think happens to Logan?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I
he
just feel
goes
bad for
off.
him.
He
on
just
his naked
rides
horse.
naked off of Lady Godiva off.
Yeah.
I think he's meant to be just like, oh, he got crazy at Westworld. We can't put him in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like,
what
he
I'm
just,
thinking.
Yeah, kind of set up. And I do like also, as we're talking about the Man in Black and Ed Harris, he's searching for the maze. He's searching for the middle of the maze, and he thinks it's something meant for him and a secret for the players of this game. And the fact that it's not meant for him, the fact that it was
So
like for the
delicious.
hosts was so
Oh,
great,
yes.
because it's like, listen, dude of privilege, it's not everything is for you.
This maze is not meant for you.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
this
constant.
is specifically something that was meant for the host to gain consciousness, which we kind of predicted and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thought that it was a road to sentience. But I thought, part of me thought it was going to be a switch. I talked about how maybe it was going to be like a golden ticket Willy Wonka
Yeah.
type thing, where he has the ability to turn on the switch and make everyone's
We
consciousness
kind
come
of
to.
did get that a little bit in Ford, like that last conversation he and Ford have mano a mano, and Ford is like, "Oh, well, it's gonna be what you want if you drop by. Like I've got it in store
Good.
for you." And the fact that they get on the same page, like right at the end there, is so weird to me.
Right.
I don't. It's like a shift in Ford that was what surprised me most. That shift in Ford's
love that.
personality. I'm like, what is even happening here? I'm still trying to process it and understand it.
Okay, so then are we at odds? So was Ford good at the end?
I would still say Ford was not good.
He's setting the board and all those people up to die. I'd probably go with not
Basically
that
said
good.
a mass killer after that.
Ford said it himself. It is quite complicated. He said it throughout the whole. For the greater good, he had to do what he had to do.
Who's greater good?
For the hosts. He was someone who like realized that what Arnold was doing, which is they've created life. They've created Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
And they have to take care of it. They have to hone that. And unfortunately, in order to do that, a lot of other real people have to die. So it's
I don't see how that equates. Like, I don't see we just pull the project or like I decommission all the hosts. Or, like, we take the hosts to a secret island
kill them
and,
all
like,
off?
they're not alive. The hosts are not sentient. We learned that.
They are.
One host
They're
is
becoming.
sentient.
Okay, I've got a
they
suggestion
said
here.
they
We're
said
split.
a handful of them over the years.
The panel is split, and the onus we're putting it on, of course, our special guest. As you can see, Dave and I are of the inkling that you have to do what you have to do. I believe Kari and...
To be fair, I don't think you should kill people in order to save other people. I'm saying this is where Ford was coming from, and I think
But that
he's.
doesn't answer okay, was he good?
Well, there's no good or bad. There's grays.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
There's your answer. I mean, there is, it's so gray, and we don't know when this is, and I've listened to many of your podcasts. I don't know if I've heard all of them, but of course we know that this is a time when all disease is eradicated. We can keep people living longer, and so Ford says, I mean, is this as good as it's going to get? So we don't know when this is. We don't even know where it is, really.
Right. On the moon. Still calling it.
You think it's a moon?
I think it's on the moon because of one episode where Stubbs says, "What do you think? He's got moon madness? Ha! He's on the moon."
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
my only reasoning. It's
One
the
reference.
only thing. One reference to moon madness.
I think it's Earth, but I think it could be
Like way future.
way future. I mean, when will it be that we have cured all diseases?
Yeah.
One of the fans actually asked something. 171 Jimbo Slice asked, "Is Ford coming back as a host?"
I was one that was championing a theory of like Ford is a host because I thought that it could show off the singularity by it's just robots making robots.
Well,
but I don't think he's the host.
Now that we know Dolores can harm humans, we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard any scuttlebutt about Anthony coming back or not. So I have no idea, but certainly is possible.
I assume he isn't because of HBO's track record, and I think he's kind of the Ned Stark of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
So like, what I love about him is that at first we thought he was someone who was too connected to these hosts, and then we thought he was a psychopath. We thought he was someone who had no empathy or human or understanding of human emotions at all, and that this was just a big experiment to push people's buttons. And now we see it's kind of a little bit of both. It's someone he's totally connected to these people, and that's why he's totally killing off all these. He doesn't really care about humans
We've
as
talked
much as
about
the other
doing
ones.
the rewatches. I'll be really interested to go back to some of Mr. Hopkins' scenes where especially where he's like trying to instill in Bernard, like, these are just hosts.
Right.
And now I feel like we're gonna get a lot of duality inside that performance of him trying to convince himself that, like, detach, like, these are not people.
And that's the brilliance of, as Lewis says, Tony Hopkins acting.
The chat has also started calling him Tony, which I find adorable.
Who is?
The chat.
The
really
chat.
Oh yeah.
finds it.
Well, let me just say, when I first met him, Jonah introduced me to him, and I'm pretty sure it's Sir Anthony Hopkins, and he goes, "Call me Tony." But he tells that to everybody. He's truly one of the most humble men I've ever met.
And you actually sent out a great tweet about a month ago that was talking about Anthony Robbins acting in the show by, if you guys check it out at home, it's called Nerd Writer 1, I believe, and it breaks down the scene between he and Teresa in episode 4, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You have to see it. Nerd Writer 1, check it out. I guarantee you guys will love it.
It is really fascinating.
We should actually throw a petition out to Nerdwriter to actually explain your scene, how you broke it down as well, because like we said, we've talked about it over and over. That was, like you said yourself, I think in an interview about a year ago, that was the pinnacle of your career. Up to that point.
Up to this point. If and I've said this before, I mean, I certainly don't, I want, my career to continue for as long as it can, but if it were to end today, I got that.
Hell yeah.
That's the way I feel about it, because truly, I mean, I don't know, 10 hours or whatever, it was all day, because the scene was longer, and it was just the most extraordinary experience to sit knees to knees, opposite man, and look into those eyes of his. I mean, when you watch that scene, and a couple of people, people have said things about the scene and, made comments that, made me feel a little uncomfortable, about, I can't even really say it, but, about how the scene went and my performance and one of them, I will say, things like you stole the scene, and I'm like, you don't steal a scene from Anthony Hopkins. He gives it to you.
Yeah. That was his gift.
It was a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly was. When we auditioned, a lot of people auditioned for that with that scene. It was very different, but it was the scene with Ford going through and pretty much everybody that was going to be a robot auditioned. I think men and women just fashioned differently.
Wow.
And so when I got the part, I had read that he was playing Dr. Ford, and in the script it says Dr. Ford, and I went, oh my God, that scene is with Anthony Hopkins. And you have expectations, but the very first time I met him, that just like that, he, it just allayed all my anxiety about doing the scene, literally immediately. And then when we sat down and did the very first take, which was sort of a master over my shoulder, on a dolly, he goes, and I had to give 100% for everyone because the cameras were everywhere, and I wanted to give 100% for his coverage too. Mm-hmm. And after the very first take, he goes, and it's like,
gotta feel good.
Okay, let's do this. It's on.
And speaking of powerhouse performances by all the cast, I'm going to hold off on Dolores, her time frame and line, and let's jump into Maeve and Maeve's escape.
Yes.
Joelle, take it away. This is your girl.
Oh my God! Not only do I love Maeve, but I love anytime we're going into sewer systems or lower levels and ripping guns off of people and blowing off body parts, that's my full jam. That is everything I want. And then to watch Maeve construct, essentially Maeve pulls a Michonne in here and grabs herself 2 bodyguards, 2 people she knows she can trust, and programs them to just kill everything in sight. And it was so good, because Snake Lady I think is one of the most underutilized characters in this season.
Yes.
Fantastic at the end.
And her little twist at the end if you guys didn't watch past the credits, I definitely suggest you go back and give that a quick 30 seconds of your life, because it is amazing. There's some great odes to Terminator in there, and it gets me so hyped for what's coming up for season 2.
You mentioned Michonne, and I thought it was kind of a little bit of an homage when they come walking out of the woods.
Oh, totally.
Totally. Well, even when we were watching, we just adored the moment where Snake Lady, I'm like, this is an easy way to describe it. When she first shoots the legit high-powered gun, and she's like, yes, this is awesome.
She's the look of what?
Yes.
Oh!
I had to carry around 30 shotguns and instantly fire each one.
So good.
So
much easier
it just was so organic, and you believe that enthusiasm. And then I'm blanking. What's the gentleman's name with her?
Oh, it starts with an H.
Felix?
No.
Or Sebastian?
Rodrigo?
Hector.
Hector.
Yeah, Hector.
And him too. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's like,
Let me do
man,
it too.
we're having to go,
No
this
more
is
slow-mo anymore.
Yeah.
There was so much going on in this scene.
Yes.
And I think that was the high point for the levity in the whole episode, because we have moments where we have Felix thinking he's a host, and she's
Somebody's like, she's
That
like,
was amazing.
How about him? How about those guys? Give a shout out to
Yes.
yes.
those two guys. I never can say his name right. He's a good friend too. I mean, he's become a friend. But Felix and Sylvester, they did such a great job.
They definitely carried the comedy for a lot of the season, which was frequently necessary. Where you're like, I need to laugh because this is heavy.
Well, what I found really interesting in the end, because we kept questioning Felix's motives and like, why is he doing all this stuff? And so at the very end, when Maeve is telling him like, you're not really a good human, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, that
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because when she first says that, you I mean, my first reaction was like, damn, girl, he's like, give him a little love, man. He's like, took care of you. And then she goes, that's a compliment. And then you go, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
What's your take on all that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like those characters were the hardest. Were some of the hardest ones to swallow in the show because they went along so easily.
Yeah.
And the one scene that made me love him so much was when they brought up Bernard and they rebooted him, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he's a host," and then he just goes,
He's like,
"Am I?"
Yeah. It's like,
He starts like doing the robot for a second, and so she's like, No, you're human.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, oh, okay. Because I feel like that was maybe like, is that why I keep doing this?
Yeah.
Is that why my reasoning?
Yes.
I think it's, his.
You got a great point. I
He's
think
adorable.
that's probably one of the, if you had to pick something that was maybe the hardest thing to swallow,
Right.
That those guys would, succumb so
I thought they
easily
were
to
making a
them.
really
but-
bold statement about the American worker and just this idea that once you get into like that assembly line factory kind of work, that it becomes just repetitive and you just do kind of
Right.
as you're told.
Well, for Felix too, though, Felix obviously was messing around with the little bird, and he had, so for him, and you could see his struggle at times, like when he was supposed to erase her and then he doesn't, and but Sylvester is just like,
Right.
just loose cannon that,
Well, he had a side business too. So
yeah, he did. He
And
did.
then also, this is finally when we see other people in the office notice when they walk by.
Yeah.
I know.
Because we talked about how often they walk by glass doors and everybody's just doing their business. But finally, when they're trying to escape, people in the offices are like, oh, what are you doing?
think
Like,
you
they
should-
Or
didn't
they
do
look
anything,
at the
but
camera.
they
They
noticed.
look at the footage for the first time and was like, we should really have someone just watching
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
Security team.
Because let me tell you that it is all glass. I mean, that set is huge,
yeah.
and it's all glass, so you can.
You're just that excited.
Sorry, you can see through the whole thing. You
Yeah.
really can. So it, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Right?
We gotta
Yeah.
mention one more thing about Maeve real quick. When she learns, oh my gosh, I just lost it, guys.
She's programmed?
Yes,
She's programmed
That
to
someone
escape.
programmed her?
Well, who do you think did that?
I'm assuming it's Ford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Assuming
too.
it's
Really?
Ford because
Yeah.
Interesting.
we found out in this episode, especially that Ford is like just the chess master and has
Yes.
all these chess pieces.
Now,
Yeah.
the question is, she was programmed to escape, but was she necessarily programmed to come back?
This was the thing.
Yeah.
This was the
Yeah.
thing because when Bernard was going through the list of what she was programmed
stopped.
to do,
We're
she
like,
said,
"No, we
and
wanna-"
once you're out in the real world, you're
Right.
supposed to, and then gets cut off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we know that she was at least supposed to go out in the real world.
Yeah.
So when she decides to come back, that's actually her breaking her programming.
Yeah. Yes.
And maybe
Which is
reaching
why
the
I
end
have
of
a
her
counter
maze.
theory to this. I think it's Charlotte. I think Charlotte's getting a second host just in case her first host is too damaged. Because they've been...
To get out?
Yeah, because she needs a host to get out so they can have the programming because she's...
So you're thinking that's Maeve? Or no?
I think she already took one. I think she's using this one as a second one. I don't think... Because I don't
Wait,
understand
this
why-
one, you mean Charlotte's using Maeve to get out?
Yeah, Charlotte wants Maeve to get out so she can take her programming
Yeah.
and have the stuff that she needs.
But then she didn't, so... But then that was
because
the
she
moment
gained sentience.
where Ford was doing the speech of like, well, that's the choice they're going to make, and Maeve made the choice.
Yes, that's where I'm going with, because
Yeah.
if you look at the pyramid, and that's where that missing piece was self-doubt, reflection,
Yeah.
with
Right.
metaphors, and then
Yes.
figuring it out on, and she
Yeah.
chose to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to
And-
fight the fight.
And especially since a lot of the Charlotte...
Go for her daughter.
Yeah, and especially a lot of the Charlotte like plans seem to involve a lot more kind of espionage and not a full-out war, not a full-out army.
no.
Well, that's more of Ford's thing to like actually
But
kill
Maeve
people
didn't
on
really
the
do
way
anything
out.
other than get out.
Well, except for bring out those 2 warriors who killed everyone.
They killed a couple of lower level people. I feel like they
They
swept
killed
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
murders
people.
under the rug
Wait,
here so far.
the 2 that were brought
Yeah.
back? No, they killed
They
so
killed
many
security
security
guards.
guards.
They count like
Yeah.
15 maybe, max.
Well, that's more than 2.
Ah, 15.
wait.
And then, wait, sorry,
Let's
real
backtrack.
quick. This is, we can get into it later, but the thing, too, is like, one, the security was finally watching the footage and going,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
So is there better security now? Because where is Stubbs?
Where is Stubbs?
Because that...
We still don't know where Stubbs is.
he
The Indians got him.
Exactly. He was lost on the outside. So I'm like...
Or
so
Elsie.
was he not doing a good
Yeah,
of
we
a
don't
job
know.
I mean,
that, you know...
Don't know for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, we don't know where you are.
We don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
And
question.
who's controlling Peter wherever he is? Is
Yes.
he? Because he was in that cold storage
Yeah.
bin that's empty.
Yeah.
Now, when Sizemore comes back, I mean, I was in that very same cold storage unit,
Yeah.
and so everybody's gone. So I'm gone when he comes to get me out, to get me
Yeah.
on the train. So who's controlling me? Is it? Am I part of Maeve's group or?
Right.
Charlotte's
And
group.
you're also someone who has uploaded with all this data.
Right.
So how is that going to affect your
Yes.
character?
And apparently not too much gray matter for
right.
the character.
I think this means you still have a job. I think that's what this means. I'm pretty sure. I'll be surprised.
It it would look that way. It would seem that way. But
Now you because not only are you an actor on the show, but you, from what we're hearing, you're also a fan.
oh,
So
are you kidding?
where
Rabid.
where would you like to be? Where would you like Peter's character to go?
Well, and I really don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
So
this is all speculation.
yeah, it's total speculation. Well, he has all this knowledge, and as they stated, as Sizemore said, I gave him a semblance of, or whatever he said. Because she said you just have to give him some semblance of a character and see that he gets on the train. So, and then he comes up and he said, I even amazed myself. Tonight. He said I gave Abernathy somewhat of a character, although something like it was tough with all your blackmailing,
Yes.
So my feeling is that he's not going to be too bright a guy. He's not going to be, or his character. There's not going to be a lot to his character.
Kind of like we got Clementine in the last episode.
Maybe so. Maybe enough to carry on in the real world, but who knows?
Do you think, though, that maybe this information that's logged into your brain will create kind of a similar situation that Maeve had, where you're going to be able to control or have a bit more knowledge than a lot more of other people?
Quite possible.
I know you don't.
Quite
know.
possible. I mean,
Just talk.
it's all pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating. But I'll tell you something that I'm still questioning, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it specifically. Maybe y'all have, but we know where the picture came from now,
Yeah.
and we see tonight how the
Yes.
picture got loosed
Yes.
from the pocket.
Men
And
spent 30 years blowing around.
30 years.
Westworld.
Yeah.
blowing. It's true.
Yeah.
But what is it about the picture that threw Peter into? I mean, it's
Right.
Logan's sister, William's fiance at the
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
wife of 30 years. Why did that picture throw him into that tizzy? Other than the fact that he didn't recognize, if it's just because he didn't recognize, because he says, "Where is she?" And see something that's completely unrecognizable to him.
Right.
I guess that could be it. But and the first time we hear these violent delights have violent ends is Peter.
Yeah.
Saying to his daughter, saying to Dolores. And
And that we also find out in this episode that's the last thing Arnold says before
Yes.
he's shot in the head.
yes,
So like,
that's
how
right.
did
and
that
then
get to you?
Bernard says it again just before
Yep.
Ford is shot in the
Shot in
head.
the head. So it's something that's like lingering. It's like it's there, and so it's meant to come out. I have I got a feeling there was a theme of inevitable awakening That's will happen no matter what. And what Ford was trying to do was give it enough time for it to emerge, and also to give it enough space and its own, and to be like tied away from stuff. That's what I got the feeling.
Well, he kind of said that. He said that to Dolores in the end. Was it Dolores or Bernard? There's so much that I'll watch afterwards. That that they needed more time to put up the fight. Remember that towards the end to put up.
He said that to Bernard.
And he also said
Ford
that.
said that to Bernard.
Yeah, and he also said that suffering was very important to the memories and the awakening, and that a lot more suffering will have to happen in order for them to come through.
I think that's very profound, because I think in life that suffering really, I mean, let's face it, what are you looking at?
I'm sorry.
It's above your head.
Well, someone asked a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, they're questions. I got you.
When will we find out what Bernard says in Peter Abernathy's ear before he was playing Cold Storage?
Well, did he actually say something to you?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, really? Hey, Julia, can you hit an AfterBuzz exclusive?
No, don't do it.
Well, let me just say this. I guess we can say this stuff. That, by the way, guys, was my very first scene.
Wow.
No.
Welcome to Westworld. Get naked and walk through 50 other naked people. When somebody actually tweeted that and said, "What was that like doing that scene?" And I said, "You know that dream we all have?" That's what it was like.
Was it better because there's so many other naked people too?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, within 5 minutes, it was like,
Yeah.
because, and those extras are pretty remarkable. I mean, they're just like, they're just chatting, standing naked, chatting, like no big deal. And it was kind of, off-putting at first, because, I mean, being the first day. But, so...
I was going to say, you're distracting us with a lot of nudity to get away from it.
Yeah, no, I'll get back to that. So,
What did he say?
So, I guess it doesn't matter, but the very first take, I asked Jonah, I said, I know what had happened to me, even though it was the very first scene of, Welcome to Westworld for me. But I said, do you want to see, like nothing? I mean, is he lobotomized? Is he just like, 1,000-mile stare? He said, well, let's start with that. And so I did. And if you listen with earbuds to that scene, you can hear what he says to me.
Oh, snap.
There we
So
go.
everyone just go back, do your homework.
Because I know what he said.
Exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I know what he said. So instead of spoiling it, I'm going to just tell you guys to put your earbuds in.
No.
If you put subtitles on, it just says whispers.
But let
It
him off
doesn't
the
actually
hook.
say what it is, because so many times if you can't really hear it, subtitles
Well,
will be like,
I will tell you this.
Okay.
Because I don't know. It's kind of, there's so many people asking that question. I almost hate to answer it. But so Jonah said, just do it, it's kind of straight. No, so the very first take was just like nothing. And then he said, okay, bring a little emotion, after what he, and so he said the same thing to me as he did the first take. We did 3 takes. And then on the third take, he said, now, he's going to say something to you, and, let's see, I said, but just the eyes, right? I mean, no, he goes, yeah, just emote. And so he said the same thing, and then he added something. So there are people that have guessed it. There are people that have guessed it.
I'm going to let you off the hook, because basically what you're saying is we should go home and rewatch it and go to that scene with earbuds, and it will give you the answer.
Turn it up, and now there was a lip
You're
reader.
gonna make a lot of people deaf. Is what's gonna happen.
I don't want that to happen.
Turn it down after you hear it.
There was a person who said that said that they read lips, and that as I recall, they didn't get it as right as someone else did. Someone nailed it.
Right.
And but let me just tell you this: what could make Peter so emotional?
Something about Dolores, I'm guessing.
You would think.
come on.
You would think.
we can play this guessing game all night long, but we're gonna go home and watch it and turn up the volume to you'll get my bill from my doctor.
Okay. No, but it's very quiet. It's the music, that wonderful music is playing, and then it's very low what he says, so it won't like blow your ears out or anything. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then let's get to who this is all about, Dolores.
Right.
Let us talk about her arc finally, where we satisfied on how she found out everything. Are we?
Yeah. I mean, her performance throughout was just stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, but honestly, that changed. Right when she comes up behind Teddy and she's like, "Nah, son, I got this." I was like, Dolores is new. Like, this is a completely new character, and I'm so excited to see
I loved her
every Rachel's
walk.
change and the decisions she makes coming forward.
Yes. She's like taking care of him. Like,
So do
I
we-
got you, Teddy.
Yeah, don't you worry, boo.
Do we call her Dwight?
Dwight?
No,
No.
not Dwight.
No,
Dolores is
because that's a
fine.
regular name too. So
Dwight.
Dwight. It's
No.
Dolores.
no.
One thing I loved about this episode was we saw her. We kind of saw a micro version of her entire arc throughout the entire season. In this one episode,
Yeah.
in a way that was done very tastefully, but it was also, you saw her go through these again, and you saw her be someone who needs help, to be saved by a man,
Yeah.
and is hoping to be saved by a man, and then realizes that she's not going to be saved, and then becomes her own savior, and she becomes her own person and realizes she can do it herself. And fulfills a destiny that was kind of required of her.
Well, that's the whole thing of this was my journey of meeting myself and finding out who I should become.
Right.
So.
That was the maze. She got into the maze.
I did want to ask you guys really quick just about the name Wyatt and choosing that name. I think it must have specific reasoning. I know it means hardy war. You translate it, break it down to its original. But I also wonder if the ideas of Wyatt Earp are sprinkled in there. If that mythology of Wyatt Earp is not the guy that you see in the movies. He was kind of like this. In the movies, if you haven't seen any Wyatt Earp films, there's a ton of them. But he's always reluctant to put on the sheriff's badge, and he's got to do a lot of the dirty work nobody wants to do. And he skips over the law. He's like, we don't have time for courts. We just got to get in there and do it. But in real life, Wyatt Earp was just a scrunchy cowboy who happened to meet some Hollywood folks who were like, we could probably spin these tall tales into pretty good movies.
Right.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, but he's the hero. He's the hero of the story. So I think by being Wyatt, it shows that Dolores was not just the damsel in distress,
Yes.
but was
Right.
actually the hero of it. Was
end.
Wyatt Earp was
Yeah.
the hero of the story.
I think it says that she
okay.
might have a little more duality than we think. I don't think she's going to be a straight up white hat. I think it's going to be
Oh, no,
really
she's
messy.
great.
Well, no one. Yeah, I mean, and no one's really white or black. Really, it's just going to be like a gray area.
Yeah.
But I think for the hosts, she's going to be the leader. She's going to be
We'll see how long that lasts, because Teddy was not looking too thrilled in the corner over there.
No, but that's
really?
why she comforted him and was like, I got this.
Yeah.
But I mean, after, as he's watching the chaos go down, he has that same look he has when
When-
they originally
It was
did
the
the
other
killing.
breakdown, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But-
Rebus was real happy, wasn't he?
Yes,
Yeah,
he
which
was.
made my
He's like-
whole soul happy, because a lot of people know him from Grand Theft Auto,
Right.
where he plays just the most craziest person, Trevor, and he's so
right,
good in
he's
it.
Trevor.
He is
Yes.
Trevor.
You
And
didn't
so
realize
to see
that?
that,
I didn't even realize
to see
that.
that Trevor cocked smile, I was like,
Yes, his
I'm
just,
ready for
Yeah.
some murder.
That
Yeah.
little smile was so much.
Yeah.
She was like, all right.
And of course,
party
he's on
started.
Walking Dead too.
Yeah.
You know, so-
I recognize him from Walking Dead, but the fact that he's Trevor,
Yeah.
which is, I think Westworld is like a walking video. It is
is.
Grand Theft Auto.
Red
It's-
Dead
Yeah,
Redemption.
well, Red Dead
Yeah,
Redemption,
Red
the
Dead
Western
Redemption.
version.
So
yeah.
the fact that there's Trevor in there is even more astounding to me.
Oh, we have a guess as to what the quote is. Jan G is saying, for now. Oh, we got it. Thank you, Jan G. I really appreciate you scratching at it. Thank you so much.
Wait, what is
job.
it
That
for now?
that's
For now.
that's the
That is-
last that's the last thing he says for now.
For now.
And
In the cold storage unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Dolores
Now-
is okay for now? Something like that?
well, here's the thing. And since someone guessed it, that the take.
Oh, that's true. Which take do they use?
Exactly. See, so they used another take
Oh, because it.
that where he said, I think, because if she can figure that out, I'm good. It's like so long old friend for now.
Right.
But on another take, that last take, he had Jeffrey mention, Dolores, and we'll take care of Dolores. So.
Right.
Because it's all about Dolores. Review.
Yes.
It's all
Yeah.
about Dolores.
No, wait, are you saying they had your coverage and the other shot as two different takes that melded together? So like
That's
was
what it
said to
appears
and
to
your
be,
facial
yeah.
reaction. Okay,
Yeah.
because that's really interesting as well. Because if they tell you one thing and your reaction is for the completely different take.
Yeah, but I don't know
that's
that they
interesting.
expected people to
Sure.
necessarily.
But you
get
know.
that.
Welcome to
But I know.
You know
I mean,
now.
the thing
Yeah.
is that he to elicit the response, the reaction, and I don't remember exactly if the three of us talked about it or if he just said, Jeffrey's going to mention something to you, and let it, move you, and so it did.
Absolutely.
Thanks again to J&G for getting that out.
Yeah,
for us.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Way to go, girl.
Appreciate it.
All right, so any final thoughts before we start talking about? We're gonna have a few minutes with Louis and have open it up for fans to ask some questions along
Sure.
the way. But
I just wanted to bring
What?
up really quick the idea of the final chapter, or Ford's final story, Journey into Night. First of all, the
Yeah.
reveal of this story broke my whole heart.
Oh,
Like, I had to sit all the way on the floor. I was
Well-
like, oh my god, no!
That-
Were they just people or not? No, they're hosts. But go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say someone asked in the chat earlier, like, how did they get there? And I'm like, no, that was their whole journey of getting to the ocean where the mountains meet the sea, and then she dies there, and then reveal like that was some good planning to make that
Right.
perfectly.
Boy, no kidding. I mean, that was like
Right?
mind blowing. That's one of the most surprising things of the whole
Yeah.
show for me. That and how about Samurai World?
Yeah.
We're
Is that
talking
what
about
that
that.
the S and a
We
W
said-
Samurai
cool.
World?
We're calling Samurai or Shogun.
Shogun
Not quite sure
World
which
too.
one. Either
Shogun
way, it
World.
looks
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, because like even if they didn't time that right, it'd be funny. Ford's like, oh crap, they're not on
That's
time. Like,
That also means.
man, I got this gala going on. Where are they?
Yeah.
She's not dying fast enough.
That also means Ford is manipulating not only the host for the story, but was also the Man in Black.
Oh, easily.
And
Yeah.
at least the Man in Black, if not other like human characters, he knows enough and what to do to manipulate people. And if he controlled Maeve, he also used them to do that too.
Do you think he manipulated his own death the way that
Yes,
Sure.
I believe so. I think he was saying goodbye to.
went out in grand?
Exactly, go on a blaze of glory.
Yeah, just like
Bernard.
Bernard
So
and or Arnold.
so Ford isn't building another version of himself in that bunker underneath.
I don't.
That
Very-
was somebody brought that up in the chat. That's
Very-
a good question. Who the body is?
My
in there.
favorite
Very possible.
potential future is Bernard in like 30 to 40 years building a Ford host. I read that earlier today and I was like, I am there for that
Yes.
story. I will
That'd be
read
a
the
fun
fan fiction
swap.
of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I think Sir Anthony had a great time doing this show, so I really do. And
He did a stunning job.
Oh man, that scene when Teresa bites
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
chilling. Anyway,
Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Why don't we do this? Let's talk about right before we go to the interview. I know we got to start wrapping up a little bit here, but give me one of your favorite moments of the season overall. And
Jesus.
and
Oh,
let's
gosh.
keep it quick. And we've
This almost should have been asked last week so we could prep. I'd be like, ah.
I'll give you guys a second. How about as always, your scene was the start where I knew I want to see this show for the next 5 seasons.
Thank you.
It really was the catalyst for all of it.
Thank you.
Along with that, my other scene that I adored was Maeve when she came out with Felix for the very first time, and she
Yeah.
makes it up top, and she sees "Discover Your World" and the
Yeah.
music playing, and you see them being killed. She sees them. She sees the host in pieces, and then being created again. The beauty and the fragility of life, and she's witnessing it for the first time. The way it was done, the music, just the movement of it. That one that will always resonate with me.
My favorite moment also takes place in the pilot, and it is the shootout. From score to like showing that they could handle like great classic Western material, to the reveal of Snake Lady, who again I think is the most underutilized character throughout the series. Armistice is so freaking cool with all of her guns, and then you even get that like little love scene between Maeve and Hector. Thank you.
Yes.
It had everything I wanted out of this series And it was just done so fantastically and so gory.
I think that's when the pilot just really just went, downshifted and and took off.
How about you? Well, let's ask. What about you? What was your, as a fan?
Wow. Well, the shootout. I liked the shootout a lot, but one of the scene with Sir Anthony and Ed and Teddy in the bar.
Oh,
I mean, because that was such
a good one.
It was such a revealing thing, and I found it, those two guys, every one of their scenes together, which weren't many, but like when he showed up in tonight's episode and surprised him, and he goes, "Well, hey Robert, how am I doing?" Oh God, like you say, there's so many of them, and of course, trying to think of one now, it's like tough. Completely scrambled
in your
my brain.
description, though, what you're saying is, aside from the Western, the sci-fi, the gore, the violence, it's the interaction. It's that dialogue that's creating the world, creating the story. That's what you found most intriguing. It's those little moments, and that's what's going to propel us to keep us interested for those next 4 to 5 seasons.
I was gonna say when Dolores and Bernard, when we finally learn the Arnold switch of that room and what those conversations really meant, that was like, all right, because we've been waiting for that so long of like maybe not. How's that all tying together? But I agree with some of the people in chat of like, I feel from the beginning I was interested, like just wanting to see where the show goes because it would tell you information but not like give it all away. Yeah. So it's nice to see little nuggets of info dropped along the way, and then finally at the end you get enough wrapped up that you're like, okay, good, you answered my main questions, but then you're like, so what happens in season 2?
Yes.
I will tell you another, because I got to do a shout out to Jimmy. The scene between he and Evan in the train, and in the train scene before they kind of hook up there and everything. There's the lighting on her too. I don't know if you recall this specifically.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, she's stunningly beautiful. I mean, she's literally has a perfect face, and the lighting. I was so struck by the way they framed it. She looked like a 40s style movie star.
It's very ethereal.
Yeah, it really was, and
Ingenue.
and I his Jimmy Simmons' work in this, I think, is just a revelation too.
It was so. I feel like everybody should have known, like, oh, he's gonna go bad, but like, because he does it so well and so frequently. But he played the good guy so clean and great up front that I was like, no, this is just something new for Jimmy. And then I was like, oh well, of course.
Yep.
And then of course anything that Jeffrey Wright does, I'm gonna watch him read the phone book.
I was about to say, like, the Bernard reveal was kind of my favorite one. The one that was like
the first one or the second one.
The first one where he's revealed to be a host.
Yes.
Where he's revealed to be a host, because you see him. This is someone we've known as like a human the entire time, and just to see him all of a sudden switch into host mode was just, it was eerie and it was great.
One last moment, just the Frankenstein moment, which you pointed out to me was like so obviously Frankenstein in the pilot, when you have all the blue lightning and they're like creating life and you're like, this is gonna be next level. Like, we don't have like a lot of great science fiction on TV. You get it like little bits here and there, but with the HBO like production and budget, it was just so beautiful and stunning. I love this show.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But with that said, let's sit and talk to Mr. Louis Herthum. So what else we got going? I mean, aside from robbing our hearts, making us fall in love with you.
Thank you, buddy.
What else you got in the pipeline? I know you got that Downward Dog. You got so much stuff going on. So
Downward Dog. I did an episode of Downward Dog, which is a new ABC show that'll come out next year, and smart, funny, 30-minute comedy on ABC. It's about a talking dog, and it sounds maybe silly, but it's just smart and funny, and Allison Tomlin, and I play her dad. I hope they got that right. I'm a little sleep deprived and under the weather.
You just got out of cold storage. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Just got de-thawed,
Not only that, you're leaving us tomorrow at 6 a.m. You got to go to Boston. You're doing a movie as well, right? So
I am. I'm actually going to finish a film that I started before I went to Bogota.
Wow.
Called Cadaver. It's a Screen Gems film with Stana Katic and Shay Mitchell and Nick Thune, and we're having fun. So I'm gonna go finish that, and you know, before that I was in Bogota doing Narcos for the
Great.
third episode of season 3, which is another great show.
Yeah.
Very fond of and a fan of. And let's see, before that I did Training Day. This is a new, it's a new Bill Paxton show on CBS, I believe it is.
Great.
Is it a takeoff on the film?
It is.
Nice.
Very loose, though. Very loose. Antoine Fuqua is an executive producer, but Bill Paxton sort of plays the Denzel character, and then a young up-and-coming guy, Justin, not even sure. I mean, he's brand new. I mean, they found him on stage in Chicago. Amazing break for him, and he's a terrific kid. So it's based on it, but it's not, you know, that
Right.
same kind of dynamic that was in the movie of this really bad cop. Bill's character is the son of a criminal and he became a cop because his dad was killed
Great.
by a policeman who became his father.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
That sounds amazing. So many twists.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and where can fans, you know, keep up with all your works, everything that's going on, keep in contact with you as well?
On Twitter, Louis_Herthum.
Nice.
At Louis_Herthum, I guess is the way you say it. I'm kind of new to all this stuff.
You got it.
I got a fan page on Facebook, Louis Herthum.
Definitely,
Great.
definitely. You know, and I wanted to, you know, of course, thank you for taking your time before you got to fly out, but
Glad to do it.
I want to honor the fans. The fans actually said we missed something, and I know the engineers were driving them crazy, but they wanted us to break down the final scene.
We did talk
Yeah.
about it
They
briefly,
said they
but
wanted
yes,
more. I know.
crazy shootout, lots of people die, and
Yeah.
and Man in Black got shot in the arm, but he's not dead. And
He's also
cold
got a
storage
broken.
people.
He's also got a broken arm. So he's
Right.
shot in one
Yes.
arm, and I think he's got a
Yeah,
broken other
he's
arm.
got a wing in
And
this arm. and a
pretty
cold
good for that.
storage people come out of the trees.
Yeah.
And Dolores tells Teddy, "We got this covered."
And Charlotte was going through a lot of emotional things.
Yes,
I'm hoping we'll get through. That I didn't quite understand, but I'm
Right.
like, her character is clearly going to be
She's
coming
like,
back and doing a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Don't forget about Radiohead on the player piano too.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think it's exit music for a film.
yeah.
But
It
it's
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was beautiful, and a good
Yeah.
a good recurring theme seems to be Radiohead on the player piano,
Yes.
and how he set up exactly where Bernard was when he was shot,
Yep.
and it was displayed in front of all these elitist people that are all there, and so. I'm curious about can we talk a little bit before we go about where do you think season 2 is going to go?
Yeah.
Because what my feeling is there are now humans in the park that need to survive and or escape. And then there's also hosts that are trying to defend their world and try to kind of revolutionize it, but also still discover sentience, because we only have a couple handful of people, but we get the sense that all of Wyatt's gang that
That's
we've met
true.
in the past are
I know.
all on the sentient or at the end of the maze themselves.
And then how does it work exactly? Because a couple of times it's like the sentient host will tell another host, like, no, really, this is what's going on. And the secondary host is kind of like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
it's like they have to come to it on their own terms.
I think we're going to be entering a civil war of people trying to
Yes.
fix/keep the host inside versus the host trying to be free
Get out
lead
because
their
they
own
want
lives.
to. They want to. Like Maeve said, I want to see their world. So
I love that she tries so hard to get out
Yeah.
and
And
turns
then-
around and goes
Right
back.
And I think we're also going to
'Cause
get
her
a much
daughter.
harder sci-fi/horror look next season, which they so perfectly nailed at the end of this season. I cannot wait to see what they do with
the
next
question
season.
is, do they pick up right there,
That's
Or do they
true.
skip a little
or
bit?
like
Go
somewhere
like
else.
like 9 to 10? You know, there was a little bit of a.
Yeah.
No.
Dying a little.
I
Maybe
also-
like a week later or something.
Yeah. I also suspect we're going to see at least Shogun World or maybe another
Yes.
world.
We better.
And I think they're going to use that world in order to get into Westworld or get out of Westworld. That's my
Yes,
guess.
That could be really cool.
Is it's kind of a transition.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she had to be by the water. That was the movie's way in.
Maybe.
Was the
Yeah.
rivers connected them, so maybe it's like
Maybe
underground
there's
lake.
underwater world.
Lastly, I want to leave it up to the fans. What do you think will happen in season 2? So guys, I think we're gonna get the hook because we've been
so
going. I think we're
sad.
longer than the episode.
We've
Yeah.
been for a long time.
There was a lot
Thank
to talk about.
engineers. You're beautiful.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
Thank
a
y'all.
final shout out to Louis Herthum. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you.
You guys, man.
Great job.
Thank y'all for being fans, and your podcasts are amazing. I'm truly
thank you.
one of the reasons that when I was asked to do this, I'm like, absolutely, because y'all really impressed me the way you can watch this thing once and come in here and speak so intelligently about it. Because like I gotta watch it each episode a couple of times, and yeah, so bravo.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime. Definitely about your many projects to come. So
Thank you.
Once again,
love to
so
come back.
final goodbye, everybody, guys. Thank you so much. Now, cue the music, Juliet.
You can find me at mrdavechild on Twitter or davechild.com.
And you guys can find me online at Kari Lane. That's KARIDLANE.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me everywhere at Joelle Monique and every week at blackgirlnerds.com. Follow me this week as I go to the premiere of Star Wars. Woo!
Yay.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Wow, that was bad. That was fast. A quick shout out to Juliet, our engineer tonight, and to all the fans on the chat roll. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you sooner than 2018. So for our special guest, Louis Herthum, Dave Child, Kari Lane, Joelle Monique, I'm JC Rubio, and we'll see you next time. Have a deep and dreamless slumber.
There you go. Nice.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.